Hello, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Assalamu Alaikum, and welcome on your journey to excellence. I'm sure you're enjoying your adventures with Excel in this journey. What we are talking about today is we are going to become a little bit more wiser by using Excel, where we will understand journey of Excel from data to knowledge. So what we understand is we all have data. We all have this data. When it becomes meaningful, we say that it is information, and this information results into knowledge. And when we use this knowledge again and again, we become wiser. I'll take an example here. All of you sitting here would have met somebody in your life, somebody in your life who's elder to you, maybe your grandparents, maybe your uncles, who you feel are very wise. How? They can smell the air, they can see the clouds, they can feel the direction in which the wind is blowing, and they can tell you whether it will rain or it will not rain. So how have they become, why do we call them as wise? They can predict rainfall. How? They have gone through this cycle of data, information, knowledge. They would have got lot of data in terms of clouds are there, smell in the wind, smell in the air, some birds are flying in a particular direction, wind is blowing in a particular direction. What over a period of time they made this data more meaningful by adding some of their experiences and making it their knowledge. Okay, if the wind is blowing from a particular direction, if the clouds are of a particular color, if the birds are flying in one direction or a particular direction, they can then predict that yes, this is the knowledge what they have created, and then they say that okay, it will rain or not rain. And over a period of time, when they start using this knowledge to predict these type of things, we call them as wise people. So Excel on its own cannot go from data to information to a knowledge cycle. We, using our skills of Excel, take it from the stage of data to information to knowledge, so that we become wise. So let's understand how the data, what we are going to understand is what is data, what are the sources of data in Excel, how to convert this data to a meaningful information, converting this data into meaningful information in Excel, and converting this information to knowledge, so that we can use this knowledge over a period of time again and again and use it. So first thing, let's take it with a simple thing here. We all know funnel. So let's say that this funnel is our Excel data. Now where do we Excel? It's our Excel application. Where does it take data from? So either you would be manually entering the data, you are entering the data manually yourself, or we can say that we are generating the data on our own, or you are importing the data from some external source. It might be your maybe HR application, it might be your finance application, any ERP system what you are using within the organization. And when we club, and we might be clubbing this information, that is, find some data I have picked up from by importing it, some data I have generated within that data itself. So what we do is, after we do that, we clean and prepare the data. Finally, we get the information. So that is what we are going to look at today, from various sources, how to get the data, how to clean this data so that it becomes information for us, and we can use this information for our knowledge. And let's start working with a file directly and with some examples. Now the first example what I am going to talk about is a scenario where we have imported a data in this particular sheet. Now this data has come from a HR system, where we are talking about employees, we are talking about their organizational units, we are talking about when they have joined the organization, the year, the gender, the grade in which they joined, and the date of birth of that person along with the current year, which might be 2020, 2023, whichever year we want, and what is their current grade. Now this is data for me. Does it make any, is it information? As of now, I will say it is just raw data. It will become information if I add some more information into this, where some more columns, some more data into it, so that it becomes meaningful. For the purpose of, let's say I want to see how many jumps, how many grades, or how many promotions for that matter has a particular employee got, how many years that person has worked. Now that becomes our knowledge which is there. Now this knowledge we will use as we go further to see how we can become wiser. We will use this knowledge in further videos when we talk about data analysis. We will see that how do we analyze this, make it more knowledge, make it our knowledge, so that we can become wiser over a period of time. Now this data is raw data for us. In this data we cannot make out certain things. Now as it has come from an external source, there are certain formats which we are unable to use. Like for example, if you see here, entry date, or we call it as a joining date of a employee, is 05/01.1983 and the current year is 2020. Now if we want to find out how many years a person has worked, so we'll have to say 220 minus this, but then we cannot do that because the year entry date is in dots, which is not a date format. So the first thing is clean up this data. Let's clean up this data. Now how do we clean up this data is a trick. Now there is a dot between these dates. So what I can do, or what we will do, is first let's make this data a little bit more sensible for us. So what we will do is we will highlight this particular column. So I can use Control, Shift and down arrow, or even if you don't highlight, it's fair enough. We'll go to find and select, we'll go to replace, and we will say that replace all dots what I have with a slash, and we replace all of them. So once all these things have been replaced, you see that this column now has taken the format of a date. Now it's easy for us to find out how many years a person has been working. So if we say that we want to find out how many years a person is working, so we can say equal to text of we don't need to convert this current year, we'll just say 2020 minus text of the entry date or the joining date in YYYY format, and we convert this column to a number column. So we come to know that okay, a person has worked for 37 years, 31 years, 30 years, 29 years, 28 years, whatever. So we have now a sensible information that we are saying that now this is information for us. We had the data, we converted it into information. So now what we have is the knowledge that okay, the person has been working with us for 37 years. Some people are working for 30 years, some 22 years, some 19 years. So if you keep on seeing this, you will see various years, 5 years, 4 years, 1 year. Let us see. We want some more knowledge on this data, is that how many promotions a person has got. So what we would do in that case is we have a grades sheet which is there, a master data for me. Now here we have two types of grades. One is the new grade system what the company might have implemented, and there is an old grade system which is there. And what I have done here is, if a person joins at the lowest grade, so the bottom one is the lowest grade and the top one is the highest grade. So we are saying how many jumps a person is taking. So if you see 1, that is the joining grade, that is the first grade what a person gets, and when he gets a promotion and goes up, so he has taken, that is the second grade, third grade, and so on. So what we will do is, let's see how do we make sense out of it. I will do equal to, and In earlier videos, we have talked about a function, a very useful function that allows us to extract information. You can put that function name in the comment box, and I will come to know whether you remember it or not. But for the time being, so what I do is I use VLOOKUP, and I want to find out what is the current grade of the person. The master data what I have, I will use the grade bands which are there, that is the current grade, the new grade bands, and I press F4 so that I put in the comment box so that I can fix it, comma, I need the value from the 1, 2 and 3 columns, so I will put 3 and I want an exact match, so I get not applicable. The reason is this grade might not be available. We leave this for the time being. Minus, I will use another VLOOKUP function. What was the grade the person joined in, comma, we'll go to the grade sheet and we use the data, we fix that data. I know I have to pick up the value from the third column, comma, 0, brackets and 0, and we copy it. Now if you see, there are certain places where you see the promotions, number of promotions, but in certain cases, in most of the cases, you see NA, because these are the people who had maybe joined when we were not having the new grade system. So in that case, what do we do? Remember the nesting of functions. So there is a function, what we call it as, I'll just maximize this so that all of us can see it clearly. In this, what I do is I say if NA is a function which allows, which is a logical function which allows us to search or to do an action if the value returned by the VLOOKUP function or is not applicable, that it has not found it. So what we do here is we say if NA VLOOKUP, that is if I don't find it in that area, I do VLOOKUP, that is I again start with my VLOOKUP, and in this case, just let me expand that so that I can show you the complete formula much more clearly. So what I do here is if NA, first VLOOKUP, I do if NA, open the bracket for if NA, inside if NA we have the VLOOKUP, but if it is NA, what is the second parameter? That is what is the action I have to do. So I have to again do a VLOOKUP, and this time I say that okay, if you don't find it there, look for this grade in the other area. I fix this one, return me a value from column 3 and exact match, 0, close it for VLOOKUP and close if NA. So we get value error here. Why? Because there was an NA. So there is if NA for the second one and comma VLOOKUP, lookup for the value. Okay, just 1 minute, I did not give the lookup value. So lookup value is this one, comma. Now the second is if NA, comma, I want to look up the grade at joining time, VLOOKUP grade at the time of joining, comma, area this time, again the table array or the data set is the data set what I have for the new grades. I want to return the third column, comma 0, close it for NA, VLOOKUP, close it for NA, enter. So now we get 1. So what I have done here is I have used V if NA and I have used two data sets. So in case I don't get a value in the first data set, I pick up the value from the second data set, and what we have is the number of years what we have got for all these people. Now we can use this to get the average promotion period. So if we say equal to 37, that is number of years, divided by 31, so we get, some people have been getting promotions every 9.25 years, some are getting 4.6. so we get these values. So we come later in in future videos, I will discuss with you how do we analyze this. We want to find out for a particular group, for a particular company, for a particular company code, what we have here for the organization, what is the average promotion period. So all this now will be our knowledge, and we will be our information which we will use to create knowledge. Again and again we will use that so that it becomes our wisdom. This is one aspect of setting up your or generating data. Now other aspect is, let's look at another scenario. This is all data cleaning, data setting up for your analysis purpose. Now this is another thing what we have in our regular scenarios. You have extracted some information from your SAP or from your ERP or from any other system, and what happens is, when we are generating reports in these systems and we export them to Excel and we get the data in Excel from those reports, they come as grouped reports as we call them. And what you see is, you will see, for example, you have a particular customer and that particular customer has 5 invoices. So you will see the name of the customer only coming once, but invoices in the next column will be 5 separate rows. Good for understanding it, but then that is data, that is still not information, and it cannot be used to generate more knowledge. So what I will do here is, we want to say that every second row here, like in this case we have region Atlantic, so there were 2 incidents for Atlantic region, there were 2 incidents, in this case I am taking 2 as an example. So what I want is, I want to fill up all these blank cells, so I understand that the next row, that is row number 3, is also Atlantic, row number 5 is Central, row number 7 is Midwest. The most important thing when you have to do analysis of the data to get some knowledge out of this data is, you have to make sure that every cell has a value. Now, in this case we have a challenge, we don't have values in some of the cells, and when we do the analysis, when we use tools like pivot tables, these blank cells would become a separate category, would become a separate set of data. So what we will do is, easy way is, we will highlight this column, we will go to find and select, we can go to special, we will go to blanks, click on OK. Now if you observe, Excel has highlighted all the blank cells. Here what I will do is, I will type equal to, I am not clicking anywhere, I am just going to the first, just making sure that I am in the first cell itself, equal to, and I select the row on top and press Ctrl and enter. The moment I press Ctrl and enter, you will see the data is now filled up in all the blank cells. This is the next level of data cleaning what we are doing. We are preparing our data for data analysis so that we can generate knowledge out of it. We can have information, that information leads to knowledge. So next thing is your data validation. Now this is a scenario where we are talking about, or where we are looking at, you are not getting data from, or you are not importing data from anywhere. We are generating the data, or we are typing, if I say in a very layman language, is we are typing the data on our own in our Excel sheet. What can be the problems here? The problems what we will face here is inconsistency of data. Somewhere, for example, customer code C001 is customer ABC, but somewhere else customer code C001 is customer A space B space C. So what happens in that case is these are two different customers, and the moment we start doing analysis based on the customer name, we are in trouble. The data is inconsistent with us. How do we avoid? Because that is manual error. We are entering data manually. How do we control all that? Another example, you have a product, let's say office or a manager table. Now manager table, in some place you type it as MANAGER space table. Very good. But somewhere I was feeling a little bit lazy in typing, so I say okay, MGR dot space TABLE. Both are two different products for the system. How do we ensure that we get proper information here, proper data here? So what you can do here is, now there are two ways to do it. One is when you are entering the data, what we will do is we'll ensure that the column has only specific set of values. Now when we are doing, this is what we call it as data validation. Now when we are doing data validation, please remember one thing, you can reduce data errors by using data validation. Be it any system, you can reduce or you can try to reduce the errors in the data, but you cannot eliminate those errors 100%. The reason, because we are talking about manual entry. Somewhere if I talk about finance and accounts, I wanted to use a particular GL account, that is what we call it as a general ledger account. But by mistake, while selecting the GL account, I select a wrong GL account. It's not the system error. System has already given me the list which is available, but then it is a human error which is there. So we cannot eliminate human errors completely. So that is the reason why I was saying that we cannot eliminate them 100%, but yes, we can avoid certain errors. So here what we are going to do is we are going to see 2-3 methods of using data validation. The first one, what we are going to talk about, is a very simple one. We have a product code, and this method is applicable if you have limited values. Let's say I have only 5 products which I sell. Let's say I have only 5 students for whom I want to enter the data. Let's say I have only 5 employees for whom I want to enter the data. So what we do is we go to data, we highlight the product code column, we go to data. Under data there is a tab called as data validation, or panel called data validation. We select that and we select from allow, we say we will select list. What is the source? Now the source of this list currently is the fixed list. So I can type here product 1, product 2, product 3, separated by commas. So the moment we do that, we have next in the product code column, in the cell where we want to enter the data, you will see a drop down and you can choose the product what the person wants to choose. Now here, if I wanted to select product 1 but by mistake I selected product 3, we cannot control that. So that's why we cannot eliminate it 100%. So let's come back to now here. Another thing what you can do is you can select maximum possible rows what you want. Don't select all 1,048,000 rows. Select maximum possible rows. If you feel that okay, I want to apply this to 5,000 rows, I will have 5,000 rows. Please go ahead and select 5,000 rows and then go to data validation and apply. Another method is what you can do is you can apply to limited rows Like for example, I had applied till row number 22. Below that I have not applied this. So what I will do is I will keep that row number 22 blank. I will not select the value and I will drag it till where I want to. So if I go to row number 23, I get the same thing. So if I come down below, I will show you what will happen. Like for example, I have dragged till 73 now and I have selected product 1. Now in this case, if I drag this now down, my product 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 will start coming. If it is A, or if it is product name, a proper name without numbers or sequences, then you will start getting the name what was used in the last cell. So avoid using avoid dragging it from a cell which has a value. But the question now comes that you are not limited to only specific items. There are situations like for example customers. Your customers keep on increasing. You might have new customers. You will have new customers who will get added into your system, into your data, into your business. New employees who will get added into your system. So how do we make it dynamic? So what we do is, in that case, let's again, I will just select it till row number 20. I go to data validation, I will select list again. Now in the source, I can give a range of cells. So what I will do here is, I will create a sheet where I will have all, I have done it for understanding purposes, I have already done it. There is a sheet ABC where I have all the customer names. So what I will do is, I'm just talking about simple thing as of now. I am just dragging, let's say, I feel that I will never exceed beyond 50 customers. Okay. So select 50 rows. Currently we have 9 customers. So what I will do is, I will go to my data validation, select some 20 rows here, go to data validation. In the source, for the list in the source, I will select, let's say, up to row number 50. Click on OK. So now you have these customers who are there. Let's say I add another customer in the next row, let's say test customer. So when I come to my data validation sheet, so if I see here, I will see my test customer is available to me here. We can make it dynamic. Instead of using or highlighting this range, what I can do is, we can select this data and go to your home tab and format as table. You can select any format, that's okay. So we have this one, and I will name this column, or let's try without naming the column. So if I come here, I go to my, I can delete these validations. I can go to data again, data validation, clear data validation, and I say clear all. Okay. And then I create data validation again. I say list, and this time the list is the same thing till here, and click on OK. So we get the data here. Let's see what happens if we go to customer master and we add another customer. Now this customer also gets added to my data table because data table is dynamic here. I go to data validation. I should be able to see test 1, 2, 3. No, the reason is we had selected only till that particular column, that particular row. So we'll have to change that here. So it doesn't make a sense even if you make it a table. Let's come to the next one. is you want that the quantity should be a number. So you can again highlight the data validation, and you say it has to be a whole number. Minimum, that is I will not have 0, 1, maximum can be whatever, you can leave it to be okay. So I can say maximum I can supply is, let's say, 1000. I'm just taking an example here. So it is 1000. This can be used for salary, like minimum salary. You can even give a condition here. You have an option for giving data validation, and you can specify a custom formula where you can specify that if a grade is a particular grade, then my salary should be this. So you can create helper columns and use those helper columns. And the most interesting part here is the errors. Now let's say this is product 1, but I am not bothered about this drop down list, and I say P1. Excel gives me an error and it says retry. It says the value you entered is not valid, retry, cancel. So I can retry, it will again bring me back. If I just press enter, if I say cancel, it will cancel that value. I just type P1, enter, and I cancel, it does not accept. Now how is this coming? You can change all this here. Is you can go to your data validation, there are options where you can say input message. What is the title of that input message is, let's say I want to say wrong product. Input messages, I will say select the product from the list. I want to give an error alert. Now there are 3 types of error alerts what we have. We have stop, warning, and information. Now when we talk about stop, the stop error message, I want to give a title. Again, let's say wrong product. Make sure you select from the list. Click on OK. So if we type P, now just observe, the moment I come to this cell, it says wrong product code, select the product from the list. So you can say title something else, but select the product from list. But I am not seeing that. I just type P1, enter, it says wrong product, make sure you select from the list. So if I say retry, it will bring me back to that cell, and I will now maybe select this. Now what is the difference between the 3 types of error alerts? So I go to data validation, error alert. So stop is not allowing me to enter anything which does not match the list or my criteria or my validation settings. If you just use warning, let's see what is the warning. I'll just change the message here. Use the list. So this input message is next to the text box. So I come here, use the list. I type P1, click on enter. Just see here, it is a warning. It says make sure you select from the list. You want to continue? Yes. You don't want to continue? No. So when you have used a warning, it gives you an option. So you might say I want to continue, so the product will get selected, but it will take the place. But if I say P2 and now we select I don't want to continue, it will take me back to the cell where we were entering the wrong value. So warning is an option. You are free to enter a wrong value, that's okay. You are free to do anything, whatever you want to do with that data. But in critical columns, avoid giving a warning, and in fact in all the columns which are very critical where the data is very important, avoid giving, just give the stop alert. So this is what we have seen, is where we can generate these alerts. So what we have seen is, we have seen the journey of from data to skills. So we have seen the manual entry of the data, how to control the manual entry of the data. We cannot avoid 100% errors, but yes, we can reduce the errors. We have seen how to clean up your data, which is your imported data or the data which has been exported from the system to Excel, from any other system to Excel. We have seen how to clean up the data and prepare the data for getting proper information. And once this gets ready, we get the information. Now we have the knowledge, we have the skill how to play around with this, and another video we will see how to use these skills to do data analysis, so that we can show our knowledge, use the skill again and again, and become wiser. So thank you for your time. This is what is there in this video for today. I'm sure this would have given you a lot of insight on getting the data, how to prepare your data for further analysis of the data. So thank you for your time once again, and the next video would give you insight on data analysis. Enjoy your day and have a good time. Thank you.